Hello, this is Professor BRB, and if you've done the previous two videos, you're well on your way to becoming a pen tool master. So let's get started. In this video, we'll be drawing these shapes here and exploring some more aspects of the pen tool. You can download this template from the link on the YouTube channel. So let's get started. We're going to first start with the palm tree here. And going to your pen tool, starting out drawing these zigzag shapes is extremely easy. You just click everywhere there's a direction change. You just click. No dragging. You don't need to use any keys. Just click, click, click. So this is easy. It's kind of repetitive. So I'm going to finish the leaves off camera, and I'll come back to you when we're ready to do the stem. So you might want to pause your video and finish the leaves, and we'll be right back. So we're just about ready. We're going to draw this palm tree in one continuous line. So we'll click here. Now we need to click and drag in order to get this nice long curve here. And I'm going to drag a great long distance here because we're coming down quite a distance. And I'm going to click right here, close to where my direction is going to change, and just click a short distance. The general rule is you click a long distance, you drag a long distance for a long curve and a short distance for a short curve. And it's just a matter of practice and intuition, figuring out where to put your points. And there's no one exact right answer, but the general rule is that you want to have as few points as will give you the effect that you want. So I'm dragging quite a ways here, and I'll come back and edit this a little bit later. So now, in order to go from a curve to a straight line, I need to click on that point to kill one of my control handles. And then I can just complete this last leaf very quickly. And close my path. Right here, just make sure you get that little ring next to your pen tool so that you know you're closing your path. Now we can definitely see room for improvement here on this curve, but as long as my points are placed well, the editing is quite easy. You just take your white arrow tool, the direct selection tool, you can move points around, you can adjust the handles, and it doesn't take too long before you really have it looking just the way you want. Now I think I should have used an extra point there. And you can always add one. Just go to your Add Anchorage Point tool and click on the line. Oh, come on. There we go. I don't know why it didn't think I was on the line there. I thought I was. Okay, and there you go. That's perfect. So now we're going to learn a more complex kind of curve, which is a hinged curve. And if you were with us with some earlier lessons, we went into some detail about that. There's a little refresher down here. And we're just going to go ahead and go for it. So let's get back to our pen tool and start here. Click and drag a good long distance. Put another point here. Click and drag out. Drag down. And now, in order to, if I just click over here, it's going to do this, which I don't want. So I have to hold down my Option key and drag this handle up. And just kind of guesstimate the length I'm going to need to have it. So our next point, we're going to click and drag out. Once again, we need a hinged point. So press down the Option key and click and drag up. Release your Option key and then click and drag down. Option key, drag up, and now to complete you'll see I've got that little ring there that indicates I'm closing the path. I now have to hold down. If I just do this, it'll go all wacky. So that's not good. I have to hold down my Option key and click and drag down. Now, generally, you're going to have to go back and do a little editing on a shape like this, and it's better if you can balance your handles here and get them to be a similar length so that you don't have one really long one and one really short one. And, you can kind of try and balance those out a little bit better, and you'll get a more regular curve that way. And once you're satisfied, then, of course, it's quite easy to draw the handle of the umbrella. That's just a matter of the pen tool. Click, 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 and get that little ring to close the path. That's a pretty good looking umbrella. And we're now going to use those same skills to draw this bat. And what we're going to do is draw one side of the bat and then reflect it so that we save a little bit of time. So back to the pen tool. I'm going to try and find this center line here and click and drag up. About 1/3 of the distance of your curve is a good rule. Back to the point there. Drag down. You can kind of see this works the same way. Option key. Drag up. Again, about 1/3 the length of your curve. And, oops-a-daisy, drag down there. Very good. Option key. Drag up. Drag out. Option key. Now here I'm going to drag out a long distance because I've got a long curve here. Place my point. Drag down. Now I'm going to need my Option key again. Drag up. And there I didn't really drag it in the right direction. So let me just go back with my Option key and drag it out a little bit more like that. That's good. Now I'm going to drag the little bat ear shape. It's still not quite perfect, but I'll go back and fix it later. Now, Option key. And I can actually just grab the handle here and drag it down. Now let's try and get it on this central line here and drag out. Now you can see I kind of messed up there, and I'm just going to terminate this line here. And even as long as you've got your points placed well, even if you didn't quite get everything the way it should be, it's so easy to fix it by just dragging your handles around and perfecting your curve, and you just kind of play around with it until you're happy with it. And you'll be surprised how quick you can fix everything and just make it look really great. So now, one thing I want to be sure of is that this and these 2 points are on exactly the same axis. And since I'm in my direct selection tool, I click off to just make sure nothing is selected, and I just select those 2 points. I can go to Object, Path, Average, and I can average them on a vertical axis. And that will just make sure that they're perfectly aligned. And in this case, they seem a little bit short of the center. So I'm just going to push them over a tiny bit with my arrow key. Make a little tiny adjustment here. See, this is what's beautiful about vector drawing, is you can just fix anything. So now with my selection tool, I select my half bat, and because I don't want to do it again, under my rotate tool lives my reflect tool. Make sure you just select one of those, get to the position of one of those points, hold down your Option key, and click. A sharp click, not a click and drag. Axis vertical, copy. Bingo, there's my bat. Now, it's still not a closed shape because I'm going to fill these 2 shapes to show you how I can tell that. So if I do this one half a shape here, and I'm just going to make that one color, and then the other half a shape here, I'll make that a different color. So you can see right now I have two different shapes, and that's not ideal. So when I go down to the drill down with my zoom tool to the detail level, direct selection tool, select those 2 points. They should be in the same position. Object, path, join. Bingo, look what happened to my fill. I still need to do the same thing down here. Just select those 2 points, object, path, join, or Command J. Now I have a closed path, and that was pretty quick to do. We're going to just move on. We're almost there to drawing some curved points and doing this footprint. Notice I have a little hint up here. Shortcut. For the toes, start with the ellipse tool and then edit the curves. You could draw them with a pen tool, but honestly, I think it's a waste of time. For something like this, the ellipse tool places the points quite well and gives you a nice closed shape. So I would just go ahead and draw that, and let me just get rid of my fill here. And then you can just move the points around. Since these toes are just not exactly right, they're a little bit irregular, just move those toes around and just kind of adjust them to get them just the way that you want. You can also rotate an ellipse, like if I make a kind of a slightly narrower ellipse here, and then if I go to my selection tool, I can rotate it a little bit. And that's kind of a good little trick to know. Spacebar is letting me replace it. And then back V takes me to my selection tool, and that gives me my bounding box, so I can rotate it. And you can just go ahead and draw these toes very quickly, and I'm going to skip over that in order to just let you finish that on your own. And now we're just going to make this bottom part, and we just learned how to use the Option key to make corner points. But here I want you to keep your hand off of the keyboard and not touch the Option key at all, because we want only smooth points here. So click and drag, and you notice we try and place our points at sort of the north, south, east, and west points of the curve. And it's not an exact science, but you can kind of see that a long drag gets you a long curve and a shorter drag gets you a shorter curve. And once again, the beauty of vector drawing is that if you make a mistake, you can always fix it and nobody will ever know. They'll think you did it perfect the first time. So trying to find the high points of all the curves, and now here, notice I have that little ring, and I just click and drag out. That was super easy to do. And the key thing is to realize you have all rocker points here, which means that when I go to edit, if I edit this one side, it affects the other side. And at first that might kind of seem like a problem, but it's actually a good thing because it assures that you have smooth curves. And again, that's one of the beauties of vector drawing, that you get these beautiful smooth curves that really print well. And if you've placed your points and done your drawing well, if you do a tiny little drawing the size of a postage stamp, you can enlarge it to the size of a billboard and it'll still just look absolutely perfect. So one last shape and we'll be done, which is the tomato. And I have another kind of fun new trick to show you on the tomato. I'm going to let you draw the stem on your own, but I want to show you a trick that is kind of new in Creative Cloud, and we're going to experiment with the new curvature tool. Notice these shapes these leaves here might be a little tricky to draw. And if you just click and place your points, because it's kind of obvious where the points need to be placed, and just to make a sort of a triangle shape here, the curvature tool makes it quite easy to modify that shape. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. Let me zoom in on it. So those points are placed, but obviously it doesn't look anything like our leaf shape. And now this is a new tool, and I'm still learning it, but I like it so far. If I choose this curvature tool, which lives right next to the pen tool in Creative Cloud, and if you have a pre-Creative Cloud version of Illustrator, you won't have that tool. So try not to worry about it. And you just click on your line and drag, and you can see you can kind of modify your curve here. And that really does exactly what we wanted it to do. Now it adds a point in there, but I think that's okay. If I were to draw this exactly on my own, I might not have an extra point there, but I don't think it really makes a problem. It just kind of depends on the shape. Now here, it's not exactly what I wanted, but I can go back with my direct selection tool and do a little editing and get it just the way I want. So far, I'm kind of liking the curvature tool. And I think that you can just do this on your own if you practice the skills we learned previously. And just remember that on the body of this tomato, you don't want to use the Option key. You want to keep your hand off of the keyboard and just practice placing your points at the points of the compass and dragging a long distance when you want a long point, a long curve rather, and a short distance where you want a short curve. And you really are very close to becoming a pen tool master. In the last video in this series, we will, I'm going to just do the sailing ship here and the waves, and after that I'm going to leave you on your own to complete the rest of the lesson and enjoy becoming a pen tool master. So thank you for sticking with me. There'll be one more video and then you'll be on your own.